This particular session is on foundations and funders and how we can set through them a new standard for inclusion, impact, and outcomes. And Beth Cobert is someone I met several years ago. She has lived all over the United States. She's traveled multi-million miles around the world on airplanes. She was senior executive for one of the biggest consulting firms. And she's the acting president right now of the Markle Foundation. And we're really blessed to have her here today. And she's going to introduce her incredible panel. And I will also say that Kyle, to her right, is one of GlobalMindED's biggest sponsors. So we're very grateful that we really wouldn't be here today without support he gave us during COVID based on our newsletter. So this is sort of how things travel. So we're delighted everyone's here. And Beth, take it away.
All right, well, thank you to everybody here. Thank you, Carol and GlobalMindED, and to everyone, and particularly the students who are here today, because I think we all will learn more the more we engage with them. I'm delighted to have this fantastic panel of folks here. And so I'm actually going to, I'm going to let my colleagues introduce themselves quickly, because we have a lot to talk about. Yourself, your role, if you happen to be first gen, and why you're passionate about what you do, and then we'll come back to a few questions. So Kyle, we'll start with you, and we're going to share this mic.
Great. Thank you very much, and good morning, everyone. It is so great to see old friends and make so many new friends while we're here. My name's Kyle Hybl, and I have the honor to serve as president and CEO for Pomar Foundation. We're a foundation that was founded in 1937. And as you know, private foundations basically are captains of industry who leave money behind for a cause, and we are obligated to pay out 5% of our net investment assets to charity in the state of Colorado. So they charged us in 1937 with the mission to enhance, encourage, and promote the current and future well-being of the people of Colorado. What a great mission that is, and we're lucky to do it. So we try and honor our founders as we do that. And we'll speak more about the importance of, to our board and to our foundation, of access, opportunity, and empowerment.
Good morning, everyone. This is Sachin Chaudhry. I'm the founder, CEO of TrustCircle and founder BringChange Foundation. So happy and honored to be part of this tribe that is sharing the same pulse of creating a lasting impact and serving SDGs. The issue and the cause that's closest to my heart is inspiring systemic change, of introducing 2 to 3 minutes of self-reflection time in classrooms so that students in our classrooms can become leaders of tomorrow. The reason why this is so dear and near to me is because my brother, at the age of 12 in 1994, was bullied in school and had an emotional breakdown. And ever since then, nothing has changed in his life except medications. So I personally feel that how easily I got my brother slipped out of our hands, and nobody should be in my brother's shoes. And every student has that power to step up and be the leader of tomorrow. And whatever is happening in our world today, decline in emotional well-being is one of the greatest challenges that students are facing today. And we need to act with urgency. So that's what I do, and that's where I come from.
Hi. I first and most importantly want to thank Janet and Carol for including this little Indian girl in this panel. So it's rare that we get to come to the UN, yet alone participate. So with that said, I am Vicki Vasques. I am the proud owner and founder of Tribal Tech and Cowan and Associates. One is more in the civilian space, the other's in the DoD space, which I knew nothing about, but I have learned very quickly. We provide the management and technical services throughout both the federal government, our tribal governments, our local and state, and a little bit with the private sector. I am proud to be representing my culture here today. As you can see, I'm in a native fashion designer's outfit, which Prairie's partner today, I can't there she is, recognized B. Yellowtail, Bethany Yellowtail, who comes to us from Montana. So I'm really excited to be able to add that piece to our conversation. My father served as tribal chairman of the Sampasqual Band of Mission Indians in San Diego County. And he was the first one years ago to start the education program on our reservation. And this was long before casinos were ever even discussed. So a lot of people don't know Sampasqual, but they certainly know Valley View Casino. For the gentleman from San Diego, he probably knows Valley View. Anyhow, my passion has come through the work as being in the education arena for years, which I learned through my father, and I hope to be able to provide a voice again for the inclusion that we're going to be talking about today, and of course our Native peoples that I am proud to represent. So thank you for having me. And I'm in Alexandria, Virginia, in case anybody's in DC.
Thank you. Craig Jonas, I am very honored to be here and appreciate the invite from Carol and Janet, and love to see the interesting tapestry of people and backgrounds that we've got here. You know, a lot of people are talking about, you know, how do we do this? How do we measure this? How do we do, you know, get things done to make our world a better place? GlobalMindED is doing the work, and that's, I think that's the number one theme that I think that we all share here. Our company is called CoPeace. Company is a peace for short. We're a impact investing holding company, helping impactful companies grow, and we do that through either investing or through services. Sounds like an idealistic idea that, you know, we're investing in good things that are making the world a better place. But we argue strongly that it's a good business decision to care about the future of our world, and we're seeing that the data is bearing that out. And it was great to hear some verification and some stories on that. And I'm looking forward to our esteemed panel. Thank you, Beth.
You're welcome. So just to finish that, at the Markle Foundation, I lead our Rework America Alliance program, which is really focused on helping build an ecosystem so that individuals who have great skills, no matter their level of education, and as a reminder, more than 60% of the U.S. workforce does not have a bachelor degree, can get recognized for the skills they've built through life, through work, or through education, and so that they can capture that opportunity for economic mobility, and employers can actually find the talent that they all say they're looking for, but maybe are just not looking as broadly or as widely or in a different kind of way that will allow those people to get economic opportunities and companies to get the talent they need to thrive. So that's what we do. But I wanted to start maybe with Kyle and Craig, and as I've said to my panelists, I'm gonna call on a couple of you to get us started, but we're gonna try and make this a real conversation. When you think about your organization's giving, and you talked a little bit about it when you described its mission, how does that promote inclusion, impact, and outcomes? And give us an example of something that's going great and something where you see opportunities for improvement.
Great, thank you very much. And so I mentioned that as a grant maker, we're charged with giving dollars to charity, but we also operate direct charitable activities. So we have programs ourselves, and we believe that through our grant making and through our direct charitable activities, what we need to do is we need to make sure that we're encouraging access, opportunity, and encouraging people to become their very best. And one way that we do this is about 20 years ago, in 2001, we started a program that's now known as Elevating Leadership Development. And what we do is we convene, empower, and take action. And it's not actually us doing these things because, I mean, we are convening, but we're not necessarily taking the action. And so it's communities. There are 4 advisory councils: Hispanic, Latino, Black, African American, Native American, and Asian Pacific Islander. And so these individuals, community citizens come together, and then they get empowered through leadership development and opportunities, and are exposed to opportunities in the community. And so the taking action part on our end of El Pomar is we have resumes of those who have gone through the leadership program on our website that you can see. So if a nonprofit is trying to bring someone on, and we have a lot of sports national governing bodies in Colorado Springs, so maybe it's a sports entity, maybe it's something else, but it's trying to create a pipeline, not unlike what GlobalMindED is doing, trying to do for students to bring them along, which is an amazing thing, and you guys are amazing. And but we too try and play a role in that. So the last 20 years we've been doing that. There's some 2,000 graduates, if you will, of the program. So an area that we could do better. And I'll switch over briefly to our fellowship program, which has been around for 30 years, recent college graduates, networking, leadership development, that sort of thing. And so we've had a broad brush group of people come through there, some 300 of them now. And what we have heard is that through these 300 alumni, that when we have diverse individuals come through, sometimes they don't tap into the alumni network because they don't see themselves in that network. So that is a place where we can do better, is to try and create a mentorship environment that is more reflective of those who are going through the program.
Super helpful. Craig, I was going to turn it over to you as you think about this and sort of the impact investing you do. Would love your reflections.
Yeah, great question. There's so much work to be done. I mean, that's the kind of such a challenge, and so much pressure on our young people to solve all the problems in front of us, and you know, the mental health issues that go along with that. I think you know, trying to wade through all these opportunities as impact investors, we're seeing great ideas. That's good news. And we're seeing young people and women that are coming up with truly good business ventures that are going to make the world a better place. The challenge is how to engage in a way that allows them those companies to flourish, and to be able to untap the capital needed to get those things done. We are legally a public benefit corporation, which is a little bit interesting in the world of finance, so that our stakeholder community is protected over just pure shareholder value. One of the things we argue is that the shareholder value only approach has forgotten a lot of the dirtiness that some of the bottom lines don't seem to include. So we try to make sure we're a little more inclusive there. And we're also a certified B Corp, which in the world of finance is quite unusual. It's a stamp of approval that shows that we've gone through the diligence, that we are truly walking the walk on the social side, the environmental side, and the government side. I think the challenge is so much discussion about measuring everything, and I don't know if we've really figured that out yet, to be very honest. The way we are handling it now is we bring in available tools and data, and then we apply a narrative and tell the story. And I like to talk about our first investments actually came to us through our NBA connections. Most of us on our team have a sports background. I used to be a head college basketball coach. And it's a black woman-run business out of New York that's bringing smart city technology to communities that don't have access to the grid. And an amazing venture, an amazing person, and that company was one that a lot of people didn't want to fund. But it hits 98 out of 100. You know, it's almost there. It's got, oh no, we can't. As an impact investor, it's got to be 100 out of 100. We're only at 98. And as CoPeace, we were able to have the nimble flexibility to say, hey, okay, we're at 98 out of 100. I'm making that number up, but the story is pretty powerful, and so we were able to make that movement. But That's our big challenge right now, is kind of that dynamic of measuring, reporting, all that kind of part.
So I'd like anybody in the room who's in the space who thinks that measuring outcomes in a replicable, challenging way is hard to raise their hand. Okay, look around. Lots of people for you to talk to at the next break, because I think that's an issue that's very well shared. Go ahead.
If I could just add one thing, and I know it's funders and foundations is our little headline, and I am a funder and a foundation and a private business owner, small business owner, woman-owned business owner. But we don't have the resources to be able to fund large, where some of those in need will apply and have the application, and they can get in the millions from some of these companies and organizations. For us, I think it's important for all to look at what little bit do you have, because in our native communities, the little bit I provide, maybe in the hundreds, maybe in the thousands, certainly not in the millions, but it goes a long way in those small communities. So don't ever feel your $5 or your $1,000 isn't enough. It means a lot, even from our big funders. So I just wanted to add that little point.
That's a super important thought, and understanding that. So, Victoria, I want to build on that as we go to the next question, and Sachin, I'm going to ask you about this one as well. When you think about sort of the scale of the goals we're trying to reach, how do you think about, you started to talk about that, the role of sort of the charitable nations, the philanthropic sector, both to drive change and to think about public policy? And then I'll turn to you, Sachin, and others please chime in after.
For me? Well, first and most importantly, I don't want to underscore the government. And I know it's a fight between those on the Hill. I don't want to go there. So for me, we have been very much supported from our public sector. You look at where we've come today. Who has a cabinet member that's Native American in the United States? We do now, over a very large agency, the Department of Interior, who our Indian people fall under in many aspects: education, health and wellness, economic development, the National Park Service. Our head of National Park Service is Native. So I have to applaud that, because that's who we do some of our important work for in our Native communities. So that's kind of the nonprofit area. But if I didn't have that support from them, I don't know where I would be today. So I think it's important not to forget, and in the same token, those major organizations such as GlobalMindED. I mean, if I hadn't met Carol and gotten involved in this, I don't know where I would be, unknowing how hard it is to get those students forward, be that role model, be that mentor, and help move them forward. So there are many organizations out there that we also need to recognize and partner with. I heard somebody on the other panel, partnerships is so key. So I don't know if I answered that correctly, but
It was a good answer. It's great.
Thanks, Vanessa. So one thing that, as a social entrepreneur, because I'm on the receiving side of the equation, and I can completely and honestly talk about this, where as a social entrepreneur, support from a funder, and that too unrestricted, where you believe in the mission, the story, the journey, and the cause, and not have a time clock on it. The patient capital that we talk about, right? Chris, you talked about that, is super, super important, because let's honestly believe this, right? Inspiring systemic change is hard, and it will take time. One thing that will really make that happen, where we are talking about serving SDG 3s, SDG 4s, that what we are focused on, another 17 SDGs, right, all together, we will not be able to achieve the targets by 2030 because of the COVID, because the world is amidst many wars. So that's the reality. So we need support from the funders, where they believe in the team, they believe in the cause, they believe in the passion and the commitment and the purpose. Once that is aligned with the organizations and founders and the funders, I think magic happens after that. Because we received capital from Sofina and King Bowden Foundation, And that unrestricted capital for our mission helped us join forces with UNDP, we are now the official solution, or UNICEF, or Healthy Brains Global Initiative. So we are now in those orbits, and that would have never been possible. And now we are, scaling this with FSUN. So taking this journey with funders and partners, serving SDG 3, 4, 17, or many others, together is the only way to solve these global challenges that we're talking about.
So I would add that what we're hearing is the importance of the charitable sector, whether it's large funders or individuals giving $5. And so let's pause for a moment and talk about the wonder of this charitable sector, the third sector that we have in the United States. Today we're going to hear about dozens upon dozens of nonprofits, and there are 1.4 million 501c3s in this country. Those are churches, food banks, boys and girls clubs, monarch schools, all these entities, and Alexis de Tocqueville came from France, and he talked about the wonder, the amazing thing of these voluntary associations of individuals coming together as individuals to address problems in their communities. And so that's exactly what is happening. It's what Carol has done in starting GlobalMindED. You see an issue, you rush in to try and solve it. So of these 1.4 million charities, there's hundreds of millions of people engaged in these things, and there's $500 billion being donated each year, or this past year, to 501c3s. 67% of those dollars come from individuals. So the individual plays such an important role in the third sector.
Yeah, that's some of that data is just so astounding that we. I think one of the things that's interesting from our perspective is to start to see the nexus of the impact from the philanthropy, charity, and impact investing, and the ability to start using some new tools like program-related investments and PRIs and MRIs to have the impact, take the charity, and also have a little bit of a return. So then it becomes a self-fulfilling cycle of keeps feeding the charity, making it grow. And those are kind of newer vehicles that some people are starting to explore. I think that's from our perspective, that's kind of a cool movement that's happening to even accelerate the charitable giving in the third sector.
So I'm going to change gears a little bit in the questions here, because I think the data and the experiences everybody laid out about sort of what philanthropy can do, how you can combine it with government, how you can combine it with business makes a big difference. And I'd love to get from each of you sort of a tangible example, because there are many, about a big and bold initiative that you're seeing and you're excited about that is helping address these issues of opportunity and inclusion that are sort of at the core of what GlobalMindED has brought us together here to talk about today. And there's many dimensions of that, from education to work to health to how you could, there's so many things that have to come together if we're going to achieve the goals we talk about. And so we can go around, and Craig, I'm happy to start with you, but others please chime in. Something big and bold that really gets you jumping up and down.
Our big and bold jump up and down is the idea to help democratize access to the equity game, and with the inequality in our world continuing to schism out of control, so many communities don't have access to change their station in life through building equity, like a whole bunch of old white bald guys did for a long time. So we at CoPeace, we're trying to change that and allow people to participate in our growth through equity crowdfunding. So we've had a couple campaigns on a platform called WeFunder, and you can participate in a very little and be part of the growth of CoPeace. And that feels like that accessibility and that opportunity is a jump up and down kind of idea. We know that we've got responsibility to educate alongside. I mean, the communities have not had the opportunity don't have access to education about the activity, so that the opportunity. So I think GlobalMindED is a good partner to be able to start spreading that word.
And guys, I'm just going to tell you, we're going to go down the row on this.
Okay.
Just fair warning to the team here.
I was really excited when you just asked that question because, as we all know, there was a pandemic. And with that pandemic, it pointed out the digital divide, the inequality in Native communities, especially in our rural Native communities, and the inclusion. And our Indian students, when they got sent home, was 50 miles away. They didn't have a library around the corner. They did not have a laptop. They did not have a cell phone. And everything was shut down. So for those kids, they couldn't do work from home per se. First off, where is the satellite? Where is the broadband? Where is the internet? There was zero. So the one good thing that I love to tell the story is we got attention. Verizon, Comcast, I mean, who are all those biggies? Xfinity's Comcast, but AT&T. And AT&T is now very inclusive and have included me in a conversation. Literally, we're in this in the next couple of weeks for Native American Heritage Month, so I applaud AT&T. But, oh my goodness, they're out there. They are also not only helping and assisting, but they're teaching our Native communities how to have their own broadband, to have their own services. So that was a huge opportunity for tribal tech to be able to pivot in a virtual way for telehealth, for education, for, unfortunately, our helping with the suicide and helping with the drug addictions. But we had to do it over a little Zoom thing, but we did it. And our Native people, as soon as we got permission to be able to travel again, we're right there in those communities. But we got the resources. So equity, inclusion, we're there. So I applaud. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So for us, big, bold, jumping up and down is to make social emotional learning core to the education system. And we will do this by making sure and inspiring the leaders, like ministers of education, state boards of education, superintendents, to introduce 2 to 3 minutes of self-reflection time in classroom. And it's working, and it's been saving lives, because when you give a student an opportunity to self-reflect, just like what Janet asked us to do before we started, to pause, that is amazingly powerful. And if every teacher can do that in their classrooms, at least 10% of the students, based on our data, who are on the edge, they step forward and they start reflecting on their feelings, thoughts, and emotions in that very moment. And imagine that is being done in every classroom by every teacher. It is unbelievably simple and powerful, and it is working in multiple regions. So that's what makes us excited.
So at El Pomar, what makes us excited is something really boring. It's fundamental blocking and tackling. And Chris mentioned the importance of patient capital. And I think that's both patient dollars and patient people, humans. And in a way, when you look at whether it's our fellowship program, which has been around for 30 years, Elevating Leadership Development, which has been around for 20 years. We have an internship that's been around for about 25 years. And so year over year, we're trying to help educate and empower young people and older people in our communities, so then they can go out and do what they want to do, what they need to do for their community and our community. And we think through this process, we get better leaders who, over that time horizon, help create a community that's really vibrant. And so we're going to jump up and down for being boring and year over year, which I think probably a lot of our higher ed friends are in the same boat, because year over year they're like doing that, helping.
So I'm actually one of these people who gets excited about blocking and tackling. I spent 4 years in the federal government at the Office of Management and Budget, And what I did learn is any federal policy is only as good as the blocking and tackling execution. And it is relentless to have to focus on the details. So I can jump up and down about blocking and tackling. I can jump up and down about data, but it's great to hear those things. So one more question, then we'll go to sort of the closing piece here. But there's been a lot of effort and focus around equality, diversity, inclusion. And I'd like you to each reflect on how it's changed the way you're thinking about the work you're doing in your workplace, what you're doing, and how you see that as sort of being built in, both to the blocking and tackling, and to the way you think about and approach your work and the lessons you take away from that. So, whoever wants to start on this one, I will give a jump ball to someone.
Okay. The power of women. Well, first and most importantly, I would say for me, and the work that I do, I have 3 guiding principles: people, performance, and partnerships. And I carry that not only in my personal life, but certainly in our professional life. And that is people. We've got to work with all people. And sure, I have a passion and a heart for my Native people and Indigenous folks. However, we got to work all together. It kind of goes back to Janet's morning to let us think and of all the people, the worldview word. So if I don't work with all people besides my own, I'm not going to accomplish that much. So I love our people, and we work really hard. The performance is so key, because that is where, when you're talking about measurements and data and research, you've got to have that, because when I go to somebody to say we want to do or we need, well, what's the percentage? How many Native women do you have? How many expertise in the clinical side of suicide? Whatever. You've got to have that data and all the performance measures. Then finally, and again, I said this earlier, is our partnerships. I love the partnerships, not only with our public sector, but with our private organizations and foundations. I mean, I just met Kimberly from HUD. I have done no work with HUD, and here we just met last night, and she's like, well, we got the Native this, we got the Native that, and I'm like, oh my goodness. So you never know if you don't talk to people and find out what each of us do. So like AT&T. So I think it's important to find your guiding principles, your values, and your passion, and move forward. So that's my 2 cents.
So, what I'd say about what we see. So the other night, my wife and I had a chance to hear Condoleezza Rice speak, and she was focusing on, what's most important is where we are going at this moment, and our history is truly important. There's no doubt about it. And after 2020, whether we all hopefully are more aware of the world in which we live and the past that each of us has had as communities, and so. But looking forward, there's organizations like GlobalMindED, and what they're saying is we all are individuals, and Janet said what's most important is our individual humanity and where we're going, and so we need to see each other, regardless of who we are, as fellow travelers on this planet, and then do what we can to help each other, which then will help our communities. And so I think views into the future that have this hope are most important.
So in my view, mental health has no race, no religion, no tribe. It crosses boundaries. So how can we make everything in our efforts inclusive of making sure that students who maybe are on the edge, giving them an opportunity to express themselves? So it's not about, so DEI for us is not about having the best processes and practices in our hiring policies and making the best team that has diversity. It also means to us, in addition to that, that every student has the opportunity to express themselves. Whether they come from race A, B, or C, or coming from an underprivileged area or a privileged area, they still have a heart that beats. We all live under the same sky, breathe the same air, then why differentiate? So therefore, we all are making that honest effort as a team to inspire those individuals who can provide this as a chance where students can come forward and self-reflect, because that will give the data and the administrators the opportunity to understand who's at risk and why. So that's what DEI is for us.
Nice. DEI is part of our DNA at CoPeace. It's built into everything we do. We use what we call the head plus the heart times the math approach when we're looking at opportunities, and we try to blend in inclusive stories. So we're creating some AI to help accelerate some of our discovery on that front, and it's part of what we do every day. Our ultimate vision is to harness and utilize business, which we feel has a lot of responsibility in this equation, to make our world a more peaceful place. And I know that sounds idealistic, but that's what we're here for.
Well, between like blocking and tackling and head plus heart times the math, you've like captured all my personal passions here. I'm gonna keep both of those. So one last question we're gonna go around. We've talked a lot about the philanthropy sector, how it works together, and sort of this question in our prep was framed as what the one thing you want people in this room to know about how charitable monies can move more equitably and effectively. But I'm going to change that a little bit, because it's both about charitable monies and collaborations between across sectors as we try and make a difference on these incredibly important but intractable and systemic issues. So what's the one thing you want folks to take away in terms of how you think you can make more progress on that? And Kyle's sitting next to me, so he gets to go first.
So, one thing that we've endeavored to do is to democratize our grant making, and we do that. Not the trustees are still the fiduciaries and ultimately responsible for the dollars that go out. But as an example, we have regional councils across the state of Colorado. There are 11 councils in our 64 counties, and some 75 community leaders, elected officials, business leaders, just the person that gets the stuff done in a community, and they help inform our grant making, and they also have access to dollars that can help address needs in their 5 to 7 county areas. So it's not full, it's like a representative democracy, I guess. It's not a direct democracy.
So
More engagement, that's great. Go ahead.
So one thing that we believe, to serve SDGs with urgency and at scale, we'll require public-private government partnerships. So SDG 17 is one of the more foundational and critical element that needs to be activated with urgency. What we see as we stand on the other side of the equation, where we are the doers, we are making change happen in partnership with funders and like-minded people, is to make sure that we can really make progress on daily basis. We are doing that in a very, very effective way, where now we are trying to inspire not only one student or two students, we are trying to go down to the levels of these administrators and these state boards of education. So when we inspire one heart and mind, it has a chain reaction. So we are together making a change effectively through our common partnerships. And that is what SDG 17 is enabling us all to do. So effectively, I think if we all come together, just like GlobalMindED, FSUN, TrustCircle, and many other players in this room are coming together and forging partnerships, I think we are basically serving SDGs in our own ways. So one thing that we should be having in our minds is the urgency to serve SDGs at scale, because we have been pulled down by many, many, events in the world, and they are happening left, front, and center of our eyes. So COVID was one big blow, but we're having many more. So I think we're all urging you all to come together, shake hands, partner, and do whatever you can in your capacity.
Yeah, and I'll follow up with that too. Like, the issues are very serious. I think it was Carol or Janet mentioned the sex trafficking, with the Native people. We have the missing and murdered women and children. So that's a huge issue. So my point would be for you all to take away is to recognize and advocate for someone, someplace, somebody, some organization that you have a passion in the work that they do. For example, and I'm going to toot my own horn, I try to keep the legacy of my father going. He was a big promoter, and that's where I found my passion for education. So we started the RMP Foundation to keep that going. There is the GlobalMindED, what Carol's doing with the youth and giving them those role models, and there's those opportunities to see that, yes, I can do that too. I met, the lady from AT&T, and look what she can do. But that's important. We recognize GlobalMindED. We recognize. I'm going to get a job with AT&T. No. But other organizations such as Unity, which really supports our youth. Mary Kim Titla has done this for years. Selfish. Is that the right word? Yeah, selflessly. But, they are doing so much. But a lot of folks, Unity, what's that? Or the American Indian College Fund, Cheryl Crazy Bowl, who's in the backyard of Carol's community, and all the work they do for providing scholarships for our students who want to go on to further education and can't afford the means. Even undergraduate work she helps support. So just take a look at what's in your community, what's in your area that you really have a passion for. And even if it's volunteering, we love volunteers that come to help us. So I would leave you with the recognition.
Thank you. Action. We presented at the Finnish consulate yesterday, and we spoke on peace technology and business and the responsibility of kind of bringing it together and using AI to find common ground. And it came up in our discussion that we're 15% toward the SDG goals by 2030, and we don't have a lot of time. So I think action, and I think the technology that can kind of inspire that action is probably the only way that we can accelerate the change that we need. So yes, appreciate the fact that we've got action going here in the building, and that we're part of it. So thank you very much. Thanks, panel.
So I want to thank my panelists. We've heard it's important to engage broadly in the community, to have a sense of urgency, to be driven by your passion and find something you're passionate about, and to focus on action. I think those are fantastic lessons for all of us as we take the many things we're going to learn today and think about how we're going to take it home and really continue to make a difference that today's about. So thank you. Can we have a round of applause for these amazing panelists?
Thank you.
Thanks to all of you. It was excellent. We're just going to take the next 5 minutes at each of your tables. If you haven't been able to meet each other, we'd like to ask the students at each table to kind of lead introductions so you all can meet each other. We're really delighted. We have so many of our national organizations here today. We have AACSB represented, ASKU, several other groups that you may not know, but for our students to get to know you, it's going to be life-changing. So thanks again to this panel, and take the next 5 or 6 minutes to get to know everybody at your table so you can enjoy lunch, and they'll be serving lunch in the next 5 minutes. So we'll make some space on the tables.